Paul again here, Go For It Radio. We usually talk a lot of sports, have a lot of fun doing it, but we're going to flip the script today. Going to talk a little Will Smith. We all know that situation. Will Smith stepped on stage, smacked the taste out of the mouth of Chris Rock, and ultimately, he had a tough situation. It's been a tough few weeks for Will Smith. It's been a great few weeks for Chris Rock. I know there's a lot of sold out shows all over the world, all over the country. So life is good for Chris Rock in that respect. But we're going to talk about it. I mean, we got a couple people in here. We got my girl at the bottom, Goldie.
Hello, everyone.
And to the left of me, we got my man George here. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Nice to be with you.
So we got a lot to get to, right? And we're going to start Will Smith yesterday. It came down. Will Smith is banned from the Oscars for the next 10 years. 10 years. So Will Smith will not be allowed at the Oscars for the next 10 years. And if you look at it, the Oscars are kind of boring anyway. So maybe the Oscars, the Academy, maybe they gave this man a gift. He doesn't have to show up to this boring ceremony for the next 10 years. He can't even be a part of it in person or virtually. So if COVID goes crazy again, he can't even be a part of it then. So he's banned for the next 10 years. It's a long time. 5 probably was a little more suited as far as I'm concerned. I think 5 years would have been a little better. But 10 years is a long time. He cannot be there. But again, might be to his benefit. He doesn't have to attend such a boring ceremony. So again, he did say he does respect the Academy's decision. He accepts it and he respects it and he's moved on with his life. But what else can he say at this point? But at this point, you look at it, Will Smith now, the guy will not be at the Oscars for the next 10 years. I know there's some things also going on in terms of it's got some projects on pause and all this other stuff. All because he stepped on stage and smacked the taste out of the mouth of comedian Chris Rock. So let's go around the table here. Let's go around the room. Right, this is not the red table, but it is a table nonetheless, a virtual table. And let's start with my girl Goldie. Goldie, your initial thoughts when you saw Will Smith smack the taste out of the mouth of Chris Rock.
Well, so initially I did not see it, but I was on the phone and my cousin said, "Hey, did you apparently, Will slapped Jay?" And I was like, "What?" So I went online and I, like everyone probably, continually looked at it over and over again. And I was initially shocked because I thought, like, is this real? Is this really happening? And then as I continually looked online and saw different things, I was like, oh, wow, this is real. This is really, really bad. The optics, I'm like, this is really, really, really bad. And so while we would like to hope that it didn't happen, unfortunately it did. And there's a lot of fallout behind it.
For sure. And the fallout continues. George, your initial reaction when you saw that?
Like most of the public, the first 2 words came to mind. I was just taken back. I did think it was a gag, and then after Will sat back down and started going at him with foul language verbally, I thought this might be kind of real. I think I'd love to know, did he resign from the Academy prior to the suspension?
I believe he did. He did resign.
Okay. And I think as far as the future goes, he definitely damaged his brand that evening. And being an actor, I'm sure, is all about branding.
For sure. His brand definitely did take a hit from that. And to myself, I didn't see it live. I don't watch the Oscars. Heck, I don't even like movies. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So I wasn't watching the Oscars. But I saw it on Twitter. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. He went up there and literally smacked the taste out of this guy's mouth. But I also thought about from the standpoint, there's a lot of different ways and standpoints to look at it. You got to look at it also from like, okay, this dude has a family, this dude has kids, this dude is a role model, and people are watching. And he has a responsibility, whether he wants the responsibility or don't want the responsibility. He has a responsibility in terms of being a role model for the children, for the people. It's all about the kids, right? maybe. But anyway, he went up there and acted a fool. So not only did he embarrass himself, you could argue he embarrassed his wife. You can argue that he embarrassed his kids, he embarrassed his family, and he embarrassed his legacy. This was the biggest night of his life. He got an Oscar. There's not many black dudes walking around with Oscars. I mean, let's be real about it. There's not many walking around with Oscars. So he got an Oscar. And, he picked up an Oscar, the biggest night of his life. And unfortunately, what we're going to remember on that particular day, that particular night, is what he did in terms of smacking Chris Rock. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's crazy. Like, who would have expected that in that forum, in that situation? Like, it wasn't the Source Awards, right? You would expect that at the Source Awards. That's Source Awards.
Wait. Do we have to take it to the Source Awards? Are we going to go there? Like, jump into
that's the type of behavior you see at the Source Award, right?
Well, can we say I would kind of agree that had this been on a different stage, there would have been a very different outcome. One, I don't believe that Will Smith would have walked up on the stage and done that to many people. I just think he saw Chris Rock as someone who probably wouldn't respond. And again, we're speaking about the stage that he slapped him on. If we were at the Source Awards, he would not have walked up to probably any individual in that.
So Goldie, so if you say he went to Chris Rock because he wouldn't respond, then do you think that's bullying?
Well, it's bullying no matter what stage. I mean, let's be clear. Will Smith was wrong to slap him. He was. I am in no way saying that I support what he's done. So from this point on, I have never agreed with what he's done. I will say many people are stating that they believe he was just merely defending his wife. So where do we draw that line from defending your wife and going too far?
Well,
someone said to me, who is to say you're taking it too far to defend your wife? What is too far for someone who's defending their wife?
Well,
I can't say.
I think, going back to what Paul said, mentioning the children, I think we should also bring up the point that ABC is owned by Disney, which should be all about the children. So we also beg to ask the question, where was the tape delay in this? And there was no immediate execution to squash this other than Chris Rock on stage by himself making a joke about this is going to make history, television history. So I don't want to get too deep, but my opinion is this is like I look at it as a black on black crime on television. I have a hard time believing two white actors in that situation on live television. Even if it did happen, it would have been tape delayed and we would have heard about it versus it been on the air. And the fact that Will Packer is black and the first time a black person's hosted the Oscars, will go down in history, unfortunately, too.
Unfortunately.
And that's also, I mean, I didn't talk about that aspect of it, but the Will Packer part, black man who was producing the Academy Awards. I mean, that is big, that is huge. And also you can argue based on, that's been now overshadowed by this behavior, right? And I think, I think Goldie was talking about, actually I forgot what Goldie was talking about. I'm sorry, Goldie. But I just think you look at it, a lot of legacies, not legacy. Well, his legacy has been not ruined, but it's taken a hit. And it's going to take a hit for a period of time until, well, I will say this. There's so much that goes on in this world that makes people forget. So people will forget. I don't know when they're going to forget. I don't know how they're going to forget, because it is very difficult to forget something that is on national TV in front of millions and millions and millions all over the world. I mean, it's just not. I mean, it's not like this happened, at some random place at a random comedy club somewhere. This happened at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just.
Ask this? My question is, again, I don't condone what he's done.
I can't tell.
But I can't tell. For a moment. When cancel culture is real, and we're quick to cancel anyone and everyone for everything. But for a moment, could he have had a human moment where, for whatever reason, he overreacted? And if that is the case, Do we give this man grace? Does he get grace? And if so, what does that look like? Does he
Well,
deserve grace?
does he deserve grace?
Does he deserve grace?
Sure, we all deserve grace. We all deserve grace because we're all human and we make mistakes. But I will say this: it's not like he's 23; he's 53. So the
Correct.
standard has now changed. If he was a 23-year-old dude doing something like that, I think he would get a lot of grace. But at 53, he still deserves the grace. Don't get me wrong, he still deserves the grace. But at 53, I don't think he's going to get as much grace.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think there should be some level of consequence. There should be.
I'm more
like who determines that?
I'm more into the forgiveness than the grace. And I think we also forget as an actor, even though it's the Oscars on a Sunday evening, at the end of the day, he's at work. This is part of what he does to earn a living.
Right.
So if the three of us were to go out to our, we had regular places of employment and punch someone in the face, I mean, because they said something about our wife, we would have a completely different result.
And here's also the thing. You got to look at intent. And you got to measure intent. It was a joke. So the intent wasn't to hurt Jada Pinkett Smith. I mean, she looks amazing with her hair, by the way. And so do you, Goldie. But I mean, it wasn't malicious. So we have to look at intent. Now, if he was actually out there trying to disrespect her, that's a whole different game. But still, at the end of the day, we can't be going around at 53, 43, 33, 23, maybe 13 you can, but that's 23, 33, 43, and 53. We can't be going around smacking people. That's just not the way we handle things.
You're correct. We can't go around smacking people. That's the obvious. And, what George was saying, he was at his place of business, and that's accurate. You had other people speaking. The reason why he went to slap her is because other stuff that was going on within their marriage, the entanglement, the infamous quote unquote entanglement. And so, because there's this backstory, which we're not really privy to everything, maybe that's what drove him to slap Chris. He felt what many are saying emasculated, which could be a possibility. And if he did, maybe this new revelation that he's had, that's what drove him to do that. I mean, we don't know. There's many reasons. And they're saying that he's now going to rehab, right?
That's we've heard that, but I don't know how true that is. There's been like talks about that, but it hasn't been like verified. But even if he did go to rehab, would it be rehab in order to just rehab the image, so to speak, and take that step back, take that step away, and then come on back? Or is it full-fledged rehab? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think it's going to be like full-fledged real rehab, or is it going to be
country
rehab?
Club.
Country club.
Right.
George
Country
says
club rehab, right?
Well,
go.
No, go.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think you brought a good point. Like they said, quote unquote luxury. So, when you speak to country club, I mean, when we say rehab, maybe that just means he's working through his anger issues, if that in fact is, what they have concluded, that he has anger issues that he has to resolve. I mean, I don't know. We can speculate and we can sit here and go round and round about it. Clearly, there's some.
Oh, it is a round table.
It is, in fact, a round table.
So we can't go around. Let's go around the table. Go ahead, George.
I have a question for you two. Do you feel did you know Chris Rock told a previous joke about Javier Bardem and his wife both being nominated in the same category? I just feel the joke he told about Jada was just a bad joke in poor taste. You don't go after a guy's wife, in that kind of joke. We could also debate did he know about her hair condition or not? But I think it should be noted that he did tell a previous joke about Javier and his wife, just about being nominated in the same category, which went over really well. The next joke was about G.I. Jane, and just kind of went south from there.
So should Javier have went up and smacked the taste out of the mouth of Chris Rock?
No, because Javier was also included in that joke.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
but it did appear initially that Will Smith felt the joke was funny because he did have a smile on his face,
Right.
and then he looked over at his wife, and she didn't have the smile on his face, and to him it was like, well, I gotta defend her honor, right? He's I forgot I was saying the song, but I am a man who will fight for your honor. I'll be your hero, and so on and so on. The beauty of pleasure. Da, 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 da,
That is beautiful, by the way.
da. But anyway, we go on and on. It's a beautiful song, by the way. I know George, you know you do a little something, something, something. So you might be able to play it for us
He's about to
in a
chime
moment or two. But anyway, I just think like, look, right? It was one of those situations like you know we've been in situations where maybe someone said a joke and we laughed, and then your significant other makes a look at you and you'd be like, not so funny anymore, right? But we don't be going around smacking dudes. I mean, we don't be going around doing like crazy stuff. We don't go out of our character, hopefully not. But I just think it was an act. He's 53, but I think he acted like an 18-year-old 20-some-odd-year-old, someone who just acted and flew off the cuff and just and that's something that when you are young that you tend to do, and obviously hopefully as you go through the years you learn that that's just not the way you handle things, and you learn that just that's not the route you take to settle an issue, a problem, or a situation. You go back into the green room and you'd be like, yo, let's talk about this. You disrespected my wife. My wife didn't like that joke. Going forward, could you not do that? So on and so forth. Problem solved. You're like, yeah, I won't do that. Okay, man. They dap it up. They hug it up. Life goes on. Everybody laughs and they go to the Oscar parties and they dance and, you know, have a good old time and so on and so forth. I mean, that's the way you handle a situation like that. But I will say this, that's my rational mind speaking. Correct. Will had an irrational mind on that particular moment, that particular night, in that particular situation. So irrational minds do irrational things.
But can we argue that, you know, we've all probably had, I mean, being married, George, you know, you've been in a situation, Paul, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation.
Never.
We're not going to put it, where your wife may have been disrespected in public, and you felt the need to respond or not to respond. You know, I don't know. I mean, as men, you both being married, George, you've been there before, and congratulations. Been there.
Get to put his business.
Thank you very much, Goldie. Very kind.
So I'm saying,
Goldie's putting everybody's business in the streets.
Services for another show.
Right. So as men, two men that are married, I mean, if someone disrespected your wife or soon to be wife, how would you respond?
I'll go first, but
Please.
you got to give me a little bit more. Are we talking about in that particular situation? My wife is Jada Pinkett Smith, and I'm Will Smith at that moment in time, and somebody on stage tells a joke.
Somebody says to your wife,
my beautiful wife.
Your beautiful, yes, your beautiful wife. Someone says to your beautiful wife something that was disrespectful to her.
Uh-huh.
You laugh initially, you turn, you see that your wife's offended. You understand the hurt behind that.
Okay.
You see what she's going through night after night and what she's discussed with you, the pillow talk. You've been through that. Right. So now you're sitting here in a moment to defend. We all could say what we would do. We'd hope that we make the best decision, right?
For sure.
We hope as men that you would make the best decision in that moment. Will you? I mean, as a woman, I would love for my husband to stand up and defend, but to go smack somebody, no. But how would you respond if that's your wife? Both of you, I mean.
Well, here's the thing. Like, if we respond like Will Smith, right? Let's just say we respond like Will Smith. A lot of things can happen. First of all,
get locked up.
You get locked up, number one. So now I'm taking a penitentiary chance in that instance. So I'm taking penitentiary chances. Secondly, now I got to get a lawyer. So now I'm taking money out of my home, her pocket.
Great
I mean,
point.
that could be Louis bag, a Balenciaga shoes, or so on, or some red bottoms, right?
Right.
It could be all those
Don't
things,
forget
right?
that part.
But it could be all those things. But I'm taking money out of my house because I'm defending her honor, just to make her feel good for a moment of time, a situation. I'm doing that, and that's not wise, nor is it smart. You got to be wise in these situations. Ebony, for example, if let's
Goldie,
just say,
thank you.
said dude disrespects you, and your said husband goes after that dude, right?
Yes.
You just lost it, right? I mean, because you want him to defend your honor, because you gave him a little side eye, and at that point, your husband decided he was on go at that point. I mean,
So wait, I think two things happened. I think the media manipulated the side eye, and they misconstrued or made it mean what they wanted it to mean. When they showed the camera, I mean, again, we don't know if it was edited at that time.
that eye was side.
It was whatever it was. It was a side eye. It to me looked like she was hurt. Like, oh my God, like, come on, Chris, really? But we don't know what that side eye meant. The media is saying, many of the media outlets are saying that it meant that was Will's cue to go up and do what he did. And I don't agree with that.
I would have, first of all, my fiance, if that would have happened and we were in that audience, she would have turned to me and said 3 words, "Get my coat." We would have left. We'd have just left. And I may have said something like, "This is in bad taste." I would have addressed it with him on a much later date. But we would have just left.
But here's also the thing: like, if you sit front row at a comedy show, you kind of know what it is. You kind of put yourself on the firing lines to a degree. So if someone says a joke about your wife and she said, "Get my coat," I think on your standpoint, you should be mad at her because you just paid a lot of money for that comedy show and you want to hear that person. You want to laugh. You want to laugh. You're like, no, baby, we're not getting my coat. We're gonna watch.
Hold on. I pay top dollar.
Pump the brakes here. Pump the brakes. Chris Rock is funny here.
Price for peace. Trust me. Can't put a price on it.
Wait a minute, George. Where's this going?
Show over.
Well, Ebony, in that instance,
My
would
name
it
is
be
Goldie,
would it be GTC or is it for you? I'm sorry, GMC. Would it be GMC for you? Get my coat in that instance. Is it GMC?
Yes. Look. Oh, absolutely. It would definitely be GMC. I mean, there's no way that I'll be okay if I had to walked up on stage, smacked one, came back, sat down. I would have been so angry because I don't promote violence at all. So I would have been so angry. I probably wouldn't be able to concentrate the rest of the night. I personally would not have been able to sit there calm after he walked back down. And especially once he sat down and started screaming and it was silence. Like you sound like you could hear a pin drop. So you're going to sit there while you're screaming in front of that would be humiliating to me. So I personally, after that, I probably would have got up and left myself, with or without.
You would have got your own coat.
I would have got my own coat and sashayed out.
Well, let me ask you this. If he is, quote unquote, defending your honor,
yes.
If he's celebrating you by protecting you, if he's saying this is my one and only, this is my baby mama, this is my queen, this is Goldie. If he's saying, because his actions are saying that. His actions are saying that this is my queen and you're not going to talk to my queen any type of way. You're not going to make jokes of my queen in front of the whole world. You're not doing that to my queen. So can we give him respect? Wouldn't you give him?
Or that's what you're saying.
I'm saying you wouldn't give your man no respect for that? He wouldn't get no respect? He wouldn't get a couple points for that?
So I appreciate the fact that if I were in a situation, I would appreciate the fact that he felt the need to stand up and protect.
Hold on, time out.
That could be though.
Time out. You just said 5 seconds ago, GMC, get my coat.
No, you didn't let me finish though. I'm
sorry.
saying if he wanted to defend me. Now, the details are he could have waited, like you said earlier. He could have waited, maybe seen him as soon as he got off stage or at the end of the show or at an after party. He could have easily done that. But so if he handled that way, I think he would be well within his right to say, hey, that's a sensitive topic for my wife. Can you please just not bring that up again? The best, because remember, the last Oscars when they boycotted, Chris made a joke about Jada in that instance. So now here is another Oscar show, another year. He's still going in for Jada. So he's probably got a little pent up anger towards Chris, maybe. I don't know. But he could have handled it differently.
In the real world, with real people, if someone off the street did that, they would lose their job. If that was a work function, they would lose their job. So it may cost him money down the road. He won't miss it, but it may cost him money down the road if people stop hiring him to do acting.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely could cost him a couple dollars, for sure. And that just, again, it's just like, we talk about, money, and money is great. We all need money to survive and to live and to do the beautiful and great things that we want to do. But integrity and your legacy, that goes beyond money. That's more precious than silver, diamond rings, or anything that I can give you. Right? It's just more precious than those things. More precious than those things. That's the barge. I don't know which back in the days. Beautiful song, by the way. That was the barge, but okay. That was the barge. Beautiful song. So your legacy is more precious than all those things, and you got to protect it at all costs. And so the reality is we are all one bad decision away from tarnishing our legacy. True. Our legacy, we could be at the top, and we can make one decision, one rash haste decision, like running up on stage and smacking somebody, and our legacy at that point is forever tarnished, and it's, you may not get that back ever. So he defended his wife, and that's cool, that's cute, that's great, that's exciting, that's amazing, that's special. It's heroic to some people, but at the end of the day, your legacy, and you got to protect that at all costs, because once it's ruined, once it's damaged. Here's the thing: bad news travels faster than good news. Always, right? Always. Sometimes good news never travels. People don't even care about the good news, right?
And Paul, what about everyone? 5 years from now, everything he's accomplished, he is a excellent actor. He's a huge rap artist. I mean, he's very, very talented. Everything's accomplished. Now, I'm going to have to scroll down to get to all the good stuff after reading all this garbage about what he did to Chris Rock.
Yes, but I will say, people forget. I'll use this example, Michael Vick, right? When he came to the Eagles, right? All this people, I'm never gonna watch a game again. All this tough talk, because you get a lot of tough talk. People say, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not watching no more. I'm not gonna ever watch this again, ever again. Because Michael Vick, so on and so forth, right? But as soon as Michael Vick started to ball out, people started to come over. People forgot. They forget. As soon as you ball out, sports. So much athletes, people do a lot of things. I don't just put on athletes, but there's athletes who do and commit some various crimes out here, right? and people, if they go on the field and they ball out, fans forget. So Will Smith gets that big role and he quote unquote balls out. Well, people forget, that was a great role. Oh, Will, man, oh man. I mean, you look at this King Richard role, that was a great role. He did his thing in that particular movie. I never saw the movie, but I heard that he did his thing. That's what I heard. That's what the Academy told me. He gave him an Oscar. So he did his thing.
Paul is honest.
So, yeah. I mean, people will forget. He just needs that big time role so people will forget. And that might take time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it'll take time. Just with anything, I mean, we have a very short attention span. And exactly. I think once we kind of go through this, right now, this kind of taking over everything else that we're hearing in the news with the war and everything else. So it's just the next big thing to discuss. I believe give it a couple more weeks, we probably won't even be talking about it. And
For
then
sure.
he'll pop up a story. He go through rehab if he does, quote unquote. And then once he gets out of rehab, it'll probably pop back up in the news. So yeah.
Do you two think Hollywood was hypocritical for giving him a standing ovation?
That's a good question. I'm gonna say no because at the end of the day, that is his moment, and you can almost argue that Hollywood, which is kind of surprising in a lot of respect, gave him some grace because they were saying, you know what, this is his moment, his time. He deserves this. He did his thing in King Richard. You know what I mean? He was big time actor, big time performance, laid it down. So you could argue that he earned that moment, that time. He earned it based on what he did. So you kind of, I say no, but at the same time, you can argue yes because he did go up there and just tarnish whatever he did that particular night. Because he it just acted irresponsibly, for. And again, I don't want to, because we all are human and do some human things at 43, 53, 63, and so on and so forth. But like, man, like you can't do that. You can't do that. And it's almost like to the Goldie's point, excuse me, he almost had like pent up something in him that made him react in that manner. Because most of the time, people don't always react to things. It takes a period of time, build up and build up and build up and build up. And then, they just, react. But and maybe he should have got it out. Whatever issue he had with Chris Rock, maybe he should have got it out. He should have talked to him about it. Because sometimes when you do hold things in and you bring it out and push it out, over a period of time, it's going to look crazy. It's going to look irrational. It's going to look crazy. You're going to be ranting and raving in the audience. You're like, my wife, and you don't say keep my wife's name out your mouth. You're going to be saying all these crazy things in a place that you're not supposed to be saying those things, where you look crazy. And he looked crazy, but he's an actor, and maybe he was acting that particular time at that particular moment. But who knows?
I think you brought up a good point. I mean, there was another interview I saw with D.L. Hughley where he was kind of stating like we've all had our moments where we could have done something really stupid and could have been embarrassed, but they are doing their things in the public eye, in front of the world. And because of that, there's something that comes along with that. But he, I guess, was suggesting that we've all done things. It just so happens because they open themselves up. This is kind of, dare we say, what they kind of, that's what they get. That's kind of the consequence when you live yourself at the red table, in front of the public eye, at the red table. So that's a question then I have for you guys. If Jada started her red table talk, and she's discussing many things publicly, their marriage, the infamous entanglement. Does she open herself up and their marriage, their family, and everything related to them up for the world to just pick apart?
Go ahead, George.
Well, if you're putting it out there, then I think yes, you are opening up yourself to public scrutiny. I'll follow back with the question: why? Obviously, what we're talking about today is important, but what's going on in their personal life, I find less important. I can remember. I'm a bit of a political junkie. Paul, let me 2 seconds. I can remember during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, how much the media was all over that and trying to unwrap every little nook and cranny from that scandal. And George H.W. Bush, President George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush were on Larry King live. And Larry King, they were plugging some book that they wrote. And Larry King said, hey, before we go to commercial, I want both of you to give me your opinion on what's going on with President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. And they both kind of shunned it off like, well, we're not really going to comment. And Larry just came back and said, well, surely you both have lived in the White House. You have some sort of comment on what's going on. And Barbara Bush said the best line ever. She says, Larry, what goes on in our house is more important than what goes on in someone else's house. And he dropped it. So this stuff, what we're talking about today, I think is important. because it was on live television and someone did get assaulted. But the other stuff, as far as her unloading on what goes on in their relationship, I'm one of the people who just don't care about that.
I will say this: like you, if you put your relationship out in public, you're going you put this in public, you're going to get a public response, and whether you love it, hate it, or what have you, once you kind of open the door, people are going to walk in. Right? That's why you should lock the door so people don't get it. But once you open the door, once the door is unlocked, and you open the door and you say, "Come on in," and come on to my table, basically, virtually, however you want to put it, like they're virtually at their table. Come on in. Once you open the door, well, people are going to make opinions on certain things. So your relationship now becomes public, and you have to deal with that relationship being public. I mean, that's what comes with it. You can't put your business in the street and not expect the streets to talk about it. Like it's just once it's out there, it's out there. So that's like it's just like when people make various posts on Facebook or any social media thing. Once you put it out there, well, people are going to respond, and you hope if you put a picture out there, right, and say, "Look, my hair, it's gold now. It's beautiful." Right, this is my new hairstyle, or any hairstyle. I got a baldy, so I just shaved my head. If I go out there and put myself on blast with my bald head, I mean, I would hope people would say, "Oh, it looks beautiful, lovely, amazing. It's shiny. I love it. It's great." But there people could say, "Wow, it looks awful. Wow, it looks crazy. What are you doing?" Like that's what happens when you put your stuff, your pictures, or anything on social media. You put it out in the public and people are going to publicly respond. Hopefully the public response is what you like, but it might not be what you like. So it is what it is. You got to deal with it. Can't put your stuff in the streets and not expect the streets to talk.
So many people are saying that they believe, especially men. I've been hearing a lot of men chime in and going in for Jada. So, to some degree, I'm like, well, hold on. I mean, to totally put this all on Jada, that's not fair. But they're saying, many men are saying they believe because she has kind of discussed many things about their marriage, about their sex life publicly, that she's the reason why Will was in this position. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I had to defend in many conversations, not defend him, but say, hey, you can't solely put that on Jada. And he was a willing participant to sit at that red table and to discuss the infamous entanglement.
Right.
And I mean, let's be clear. There has been allegations about Will doing some of his dirt.
Right.
So, while what Jada did with the entanglement, that was, in another discussion, that's a whole thing that we could view as very disrespectful. But we don't know the details of the relationship because it's been discussed that they had an open marriage. We don't know.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Because there's so many things going on with that, the fact that she brought it out, a lot of people are just saying, particularly men, that it's her fault. So what say you? Do you believe that she's the reason why?
Why he went up and smacked Chris Rock in the mouth?
Yeah, because she felt it.
Well, here's the thing. Let's just go on the premise that she was the reason why there's a lot of built up whatever, right? Even if she wanted to stop him because it was haste. He got up and ran up to the stage and smacked him. Even if she wanted to stop him, she would look crazy too in the process. She'd be like, "Will, stop, baby."
Paul,
Go ahead.
Let me chime in for this. Paul, let's call it as it was. Let's be Howard Cosell here, call him Ali Frazier. He didn't run up to the stage. He was a slow roll up there. So as he was slowly rolling up there, we don't know what's going on in his head on that approach. And unfortunately, neither did Chris Rock. So he didn't just run up out of the stage like, it was a fire or something, go punch him in the, he thought about this. When you're walking that slow, you're processing, you're trying to figure stuff out. He might not even have known he wanted to hit Chris Rock at the time he was walking up there until he got right in Chris Rock's face. And notice Chris Rock didn't even didn't know what he was going to be expecting.
That's true. That is true.
I don't think
But
anyone expected.
here's what I'll say though. Yes, he might not have known what he was doing, and Jada may not have known what he was doing. So, but like, I don't think she could have stopped him even if she wanted to stop him. Like, I don't think she could have stopped him.
I
And
agree.
because some
I
people say,
agree.
well, maybe she could have did something to stop it. She couldn't have stopped it. There's no way she could have stopped it because she didn't know what he was thinking. As far as we know, he didn't know. She didn't know what he was thinking. So there was really no way she could have stopped him from doing what he did. But I think it's unfair to blame Jada. Right? Will's grown. Whether he's having issues with his marriage or so on and so forth, he's grown. Right? Whether they're having problems, issues, or situations, he's still grown. Right? So you can't be grown as grown people. No matter the situation, we can't be going around hitting people. You can't hit people. You can't hit everybody that you get mad at. You
Wait, I
can't
have a
do it.
question though. So, when you're talking about that and everyone being grown, if she were to in fact stop him, that probably would have escalated the situation.
Well, I think it would embarrassed him, and I think it would have embarrassed her. Like I think the embarrassment would have went to both of them at that point.
And I
I mean,
think
right
you
now
have
the
to know your mate
embarrassment.
too.
Say it again.
I
You
miss
have
that.
to know your mate too, as well. Like I know in certain situations I would not be able to get in the way of my husband. If he was in a certain mindset, there's nothing I could do or say. I know that's going to talk that man down if he gets to a certain point.
You can't say stand down.
I cannot say is I can say the words out of my mouth. That
How
is
about
not
stand your
always
ground?
right. So either way, I know in certain situations he would not listen. And I don't know, as men, have you ever been in that situation where you felt like you were extremely angry and nothing your wife was going to say was going to talk you down from what you believed and wanted to do in that moment?
No, I'm always rational. I'm always thoughtful.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. You are.
I'm always mindful of the things that I do. No, of course, like there's going to be instances where when someone is saying something, if you already have it made up in your mind, you're going to get off what you want to get off. And in that particular spot, Will got off whatever he wanted to get off. Now, like, I don't think if it was somebody else on the stage, he would have got off like that because he would have known, like, yo, I can't smack this big dude here. He's going to smack me back and it's going to hurt. Like, you can't, he
Good point.
knew who he could go after.
Good
Like,
point.
people know. Like, I saw this I saw this meme out on social media. Like, if a dude, this muscular dude touches your wife inappropriately, what are you going to do? Right? And most people would probably just GMC, go grab, get the coat and get on out of there. That's what most people would do because they know they can't take that dude. So they got to just take their ball and go home because they can't beat that dude up. There's nothing they can do unless they got some kind of gun or a knife or anything like that. But that would be even more crazy. That'd be crazier. But there's
What, he has
really
to walk away
nothing.
with his slip hanging? I mean, what are you saying?
There's nothing we can do.
Which brings me back again to Goldie's point. I mean, if it was Shaq, if it was LL Cool J, if it was The Rock, would he have done that? So isn't that some level of bullying?
Well, is there bullying at 50?
Intimidation.
A bully is going after someone
Right.
that's not going to
Right.
respond in kind.
But is that are we bullies? I mean, I guess we can be bullies at 50, but
Oh, absolutely.
I kind of like intimidate. I like intimidate. I like the word intimidation better than bully. But
But we
bully
can be
just
bullied
sounds,
at 50. Be clear.
yeah, it just, yeah. And Hank, you're saying we're piling on a brother when he's already down. I ain't a piling on this dude. We're just talking. We're having a conversation. I'm trying to uplift Will Smith. We're trying to uplift
Hank,
Will Smith.
don't hate Hank.
It's all love here. I don't have no issues with Will Smith. He made a mistake.
He's an
He
excellent
acted
actor.
irrational, right? I don't have no issue with him. I hope the brother comes back. We're not beating this
I
man
do
up. We're
too.
just talking. We're just talking. But yeah,
So,
appreciate that, Hank. But we're not piling on this brother. I hope we're not piling on this brother. We're trying to show love, Hank. Come on. It's all love here.
Hey.
Will, I love you, Will.
he's from
Will,
Philly. You know we love him. He's from Philly. You know we love him.
exactly. Goldie, you love Will Smith, right?
I
Turn up
do.
the
You know,
mic.
I again, I don't condone what he's done. I don't by any means, but I think he has a great body of work, and I think, generally speaking, he just had a bad moment.
That's the thing.
He
He
had
had
a
a
bad, and
bad
it
moment.
cost him. Unfortunately, it is costing him a lot.
He had a bad.
And I don't know how he will recover from it. I don't know how long it will take him to recover from it, but I do believe that he will overcome. I just think he will get through it. He will be able to get through it. Like you said, we have short attention span, so it may take him a time or a bit of time to get through it, but he'll be back.
Name another African American actor, in your opinion, who you think would have done that.
Done what?
What he did, hit Chris Rock.
Oh, I can't.
That's a good question.
I don't think I can think of one.
I don't know.
And we're not even like many people aren't talking about. He's not getting his just due, by the way.
Pardon?
Right.
He's not getting his just due. Like everyone's talking about Will, but I mean, you raised a great point. I don't have an answer for that.
I don't have an answer for that as well. I don't know.
I don't either.
That's
Why?
a good question. I guess that's the problem when rappers become actors, right?
Hey, basketball stars
Oh,
become rappers. So.
Well, you better be careful. Hank's gonna be on here again. You better watch.
No, I don't have no problem. I have no problem.
We
with
love you,
Will
Hank.
Smith. It's all love. It's all love. But I mean, like, yeah, it is. He acted out. I think he acted out of character, and we all act out of character. Like, there's many times where we do things that are regrettable. The sad part, or maybe the unfortunate, I don't know if it's sad or the unfortunate part is he did it on the biggest stage ever. Like, it's a big stage. And, it's an unfortunate situation that he did it on that big stage. Because he didn't have, I mean, it's not like he did it in the back alleys somewhere, right? Or in the bowels of the building. He did it like in front of everybody, in front of a national TV audience.
But you
And
too,
that
I
can't.
still think Hollywood has to have some of the blame over this. I mean, again, no tape delay. They just let it unfold. You didn't know what he was going to do. Where the heck is security? Paul and I rushed the floor at a Sixers game, and we can't get even near Doc Rivers.
Oh,
Security comes. Says, wait a minute, what are you guys doing on the floor?
yeah.
They let it happen.
And even if it was another actor, would they have then set security?
Exactly.
But I don't think they expected him to do that. I don't think anybody. Maybe they thought it was a bit as well to a degree. Like, maybe this was a part of what was going on. Like, maybe they thought he was just going to go up and maybe hug him or laugh or even get the mic and say a joke to him. Like, I mean, maybe he'll just say a joke to him or say a joke back to him or make fun of him. They just start making fun of each other. Maybe it could have been turned into something like that. So, like, I don't think they knew that he was going to do what he did. And I think if it was somebody from, let's just say, some random fan, then yeah, I think they would have reacted totally different. But it wasn't a random fan. It was
LAPD would have come into that arena and escorted that fan out on television.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Or they were taking a commercial break while it was
going on.
Break. Go right back. Right. Status quo.
Correct.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know you know.
Yeah. So that is true. Like, like I said, if it was a regular fan, I just don't think LAPD knew that he was going to act in that manner. I think if they did, obviously they would have maybe intercepted him a little bit, right? Because to your point, it's not like he ran a 40 up there. Like it's not like he was running a 40. He wasn't running fast. He was walking. It was kind of a brisk walk, but it wasn't like the fastest of walks, right? So it's not like he was running like super fast up to that stage.
Right.
So they could have intercepted him if they wanted to intercept him, but they chose not to. Or maybe they thought, again, otherwise, that he wasn't going to act in a ridiculous manner, act the way he acted. And maybe
Yeah, I
that's
don't
what
think
they.
they believe so. From the bit that I saw with Will Packer, he was stating that he was looking at the monitor from behind scenes, and he thought, well, maybe that's something that they planned outside. That maybe Chris and Will planned something. So he said when he walked up stage, like he was in disbelief.
Right.
And so it seems that they didn't know. So, and who would think that he was going to hit him? Nobody would think Will Smith is going to hit someone. Like normally, he kind of responds with humor. That's what we know him for.
For sure.
I think it's a sad commentary to Will Packer that he is black and it's his first opportunity to host such a big show. We're going to go back to don't put the Jeffersons on in the morning. It's just really sad that all this unfolded under his watch.
Right. And not only Will, you had Regina Hall, Amy Schumer, Wanda
Yeah.
Sykes, even Chris Rock. I mean, he was in the middle of his bit. And from what I saw, it seemed that he wasn't even able to finish it, obviously, because of what happened. He just kind of walked off stage. So, unfortunately, a lot of people took the shine from a lot of people that night.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. I don't. It's. That's like there's a lot of, like I said earlier, there's a lot of people impacted by that one decision. But the reality is, all of our decisions just don't impact us. They unfortunately impact others. So that's why, it's always, you got to watch what you do, watch what you say, how you act, how you conduct yourselves, because unfortunately, people pay for the things that you do. Like if your parents are out here doing craziness, like it kind of reflect. It doesn't. It's not you, but it reflects on you to a degree because people sometimes make judgments about you based on your parents, and it's not fair, nor is it right, nor is it okay, but it happens. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are paying for the quote unquote sins of our fathers, mothers, and so on and so forth. And none of that is fair. None of that is right. It's just not. But it happens, and unfortunately, everybody pays when people make mistakes and people act out of character, act out of pocket, if you will. So it is definitely it's a tough situation.
So what about race then? I mean, when you're kind of piggyback on what you're saying. We have race where people would like to say, oh, I'm so embarrassed, as if that incident kind of he was a representation for all black people. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. What
I
Will
don't
did
agree
is
with
what
that.
Will did, but there's many African Americans out there who feel embarrassed. Should we?
I say no
I don't think we
because
should.
Will's Will, Goldie's Goldie, George is George. People are people. Like I can't be responsible for a whole race of people. Now we do have a responsibility to a degree, but we have to our first responsibility is to our family, and then after that, everybody fits in where they're going to fit in. But we can't. I don't think we can be have our head down in shame from what Will Smith did. Will Smith's in Hollywood. And Hollywood is like we're here, and Hollywood is so far away from us, right? Like we're not at that level. We're not, and quite frankly, I'm not sure if any of us really want to be at that level. I mean, it's just not something we're at. So, from my standpoint, it's just like so that's the people in Hollywood. That's what they do. That's Hollywood business. That's not my business. That's not my family's business. That has nothing to do with my legacy, right? That's not going to tarnish my legacy in no way, shape, or form. Now, again, you could argue, talk about the Will Packer situation, right? You could argue all that. You can also argue that there has not been many blacks who have gotten Oscars. I don't know the number, but there has not been a lot. So the point is, like, yes, to a degree, I can understand how someone would feel, upset and about the situation. But at the same time, it ain't me. Like, I had nothing to do with that behavior. I had nothing to do with what transpired. It's not me. That's Hollywood. That's how I feel about it.
Mhm. Well, I think the other thing too is like when you talk about Hollywood, I think when celebrities get to a certain level, there is a fall, unfortunately. We've seen it happen time and time again. And they get to the pinnacle of their career, and then things just seem to fall apart in some way. Unfortunately, I mean, for Will, he brought this on himself. But I mean, we see it time and time again. I mean, and dare we not argue the fact that he's an African American man, and now because he made the fumble, now the media can do whatever they want with and tell their own narrative and tear him and his marriage apart, which seems like that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, you could argue that it's self-inflicted to a degree. From I'm just saying because they put it out there, they put the issues out there, they put the problems out there. So at this point, it's self-inflicted what's happening to him. But I again, you know, I think we got a few more minutes. I think we need to figure out now the next steps. What is the next steps for Will Smith? And we'll start with George. George, what do you feel like is the next steps for Will Smith in order to rehab the image and get him back in good graces with the public?
Sure. Going back to what you said before, Paul, we forget stuff real easily. So I think some public service announcements about maybe anger management. I think something showing us, the public, just how much he loves his wife and how much of a big deal all of that was, and just helping us understand what he was going through at that moment, which led him to that point, and whether it happens or doesn't happen again, at least tell us that when we see him in a public setting and there is a comedian up front telling some jokes, that he will remain cool and be an example for the rest of us.
Okay. What do you
I
think?
would love, I would love to see both Will and Chris sit down in public. Maybe not necessarily at the red table, maybe somewhere else, but to
No,
sit
not the
down
red table.
because right, not at the red, definitely
No,
not at
back
the
to
red table.
Tupac.
Right, but to sit down and have a dialogue around kind of what happened, what led him to do what he did, and so that they can kind of show some level of healing between two African American men coming together to resolve conflict. Also, then maybe addressing some of their marital issues which have come up if he decides, and discussing how they can resolve the matter and move forward as adults. I think because so many things were tied to this, so many social things, I think it's important to address it publicly. I think it would bring healing, it would bring closure, and I think that would be a great thing. That's what I would like to see.
Do you think for his public image, it would be in his best interest to drop Jada?
No.
What?
His public, I'm just for his public image, would it be best to? Because does Will really need Jada career wise? I'm talking about career wise, not talking personally, but I'm talking career wise. Does he really need her in
Paul,
order
back
for
to
his?
politics. Did Hillary ever leave Bill after everything he did?
Well, we can't talk about that, George.
I'm just saying, though.
Well,
Sure,
to a
you
degree.
can't talk about that.
Well, to a degree, yes, he did. Yes, you could argue the Clinton name helped. It didn't hurt, right? Almost got her elected.
It did, but that's another show.
Yes.
That's the show.
But a few minutes ago, you were in the bushes. You were all up in the bushes. Stay out of the bushes.
Right down the middle, Mr. Gant. Right down the middle.
Jesse Jackson said stay out of the bushes. That's what he said years ago. He just said stay out of the bushes. I'm not saying I listened to that. I'm just saying what he said. He said stay out of the bushes.
I will hold the line on my political affiliation.
Different show.
So, before we get out of here, right? Before we get out of here, I mean, obviously we had a lot of fun talking about this topic. I mean, it's a very compelling, very interesting topic, and a very interesting situation. So, when it's all said and done, 2, 3, maybe next year, because we forget, right? Do you guys feel like ultimately Will Smith will be Will Smith again?
I don't know. He may. I mean, like you said, we have a short-term memory, so maybe give it some time. I mean, I think he'll bounce back. I
How
think
many years?
years. Give it maybe 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
Goldie, I think first of all, I love what you said about him going out and sitting down with Chris Rock in public. I think that would just squash a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
immediately. So I'm going to go and say he's going to bounce back. I'm going to give it a year, year and a half tops.
Year and a
Year
half.
and a half. Okay. Year and a
Especially if
half.
he does what Goldie says, sit down with Chris Rock in a public forum, maybe Oprah or somebody. Barbara Waters is kind of off the air, but maybe someone in authority, maybe Deborah Roberts or someone, sit down public with the two of them and just talk everything out. I think
So who is, like, for example, I mean, I hate to bring it up, but R. Kelly, right? R. Kelly sat down with Gayle King, and he just looked bad. He didn't look good. He didn't do anything for his image or whatsoever. It didn't make him a sympathetic figure. It didn't do anything for him. But I feel like it is very important that whoever they sit down with, that they have a level of creative control, a level. I'm not saying full-fledged creative control, but they got to have some kind of creative control, because I think that R. Kelly situation, they made him kind of look crazy, but maybe they made him look the way he actually is or who he is. I don't know, but I think the lack of creative control in that instance really had an impact on how people viewed him. I think the impact was negative. It was a negative impact. It didn't help him at all. So it is very important who he sits down with. Like, he just can't sit down with anybody.
I agree.
So, I mean, they got to figure that part out. That's why the PR team gets paid what they get paid, and publicists get paid what they get paid, and they got to figure out who is the right person. Or do you just do it yourself, right? Or some people believe he should. I heard someone say he should sit down with like a Bill Maher, and just let Bill Maher or whoever is asking the questions just ask whatever they want, and just let them go whatever. Be honest, be candid, throw it all on the table, the red table. No, but just throw it all on the table. And you got to be careful. I think who he sits down with. He just can't sit down with anybody. And maybe Oprah is the one. I mean, everybody loves Oprah. Maybe she is the one to sit down with. I don't know.
That would be great.
That'd be good television.
Definitely.
But I do think, in terms of the red table, I don't think they should go there.
No,
I
it
don't
definitely
think.
has to be strategic.
Yeah, I don't think they should go there. And I almost believe, to a degree, that maybe the red table should be shut down for now. For now. I'm not saying forever. I'm saying for now. Just for his image. I just think it might be in the best interest of everybody involved to shut down the table for now. Close the table up. Put the table in the corner somewhere, right? Put the chairs, make sure you stack the chairs, put those off to the side as well. And then, maybe a year from now, you dust it all off. Make sure the red is glistening, spray it nicely, and put the table back out there. Make sure the chairs are beautiful as well, and go from there. But I think that's what they should do. I think they should pause the red table talk for now, and just figure out a beautiful plan to get this dude back out in the public conscience, and people talking about this man in a positive way. Because I do think at the end of the day, Will Smith is a good dude. I believe he's a good dude. I believe he's a good person. I think he's a good human being from what I can see.
I agree.
Right? I just think but sometimes good people make bad decisions. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, we are a byproduct of our decisions, good, bad, or what have you. And I think he's made more good than bad decisions in his life. And I think that's what we want to do. You want it 60-40 in terms of, at least 60-40 in terms of the good to the bad, maybe even a little better if you can. But we're all human, and we do some stupid stuff and say some stupid things and act in stupid ways and do a lot of regrettable things that we unfortunately cannot take back. And Will Smith unfortunately cannot take back what he did on that particular day. But what he can do is go forward and be positive, and work with his PR team to rehab his image. And I don't think it will be hard, because he's a funny guy, he's a decent looking guy. People like him. He has an infectious personality, right? He's charismatic. So I don't think it's going to take much for people to love him again, because I think he comes off as a lovable guy. So I don't think it's going to take much. right? Like even his when he was a rapper, like Summertime, that was fun, that was excited, that puts a smile on your face. Smile, 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 smile. No, that makes you smile when you Summertime, or you listen to any of his music. It's laughing, smiling music. It makes you happy. You watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it makes you happy, right? So I think he has that. He can make you happy, and I think eventually, in time, he will make us all happy again and all proud of him one more again. We'll see, but I think it will happen. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Any final thoughts from my esteemed panelists?
No, I mean, I think we touched on a lot of good points, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm rooting for Will. I'm rooting for healing between Will and Chris, and even Jada, because everyone was impacted. So I'm rooting for healing for all of them.
How about you, George?
I'll just echo what you says. Wishing him all the best. I think he will come back. He'll be great again, and he'll hopefully remind us of this mistake in a more positive light.
Yes, exactly, and I think that's a perfect way to close it. It's a perfect way to close it. The brother made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We're all human. Beautiful song out here. I'm only human, flesh and blood. Oh man. So yes. But there's one part of that. Human, born to make mistakes. So he made a mistake, and he's human, and we're all born to make mistakes, and we're going to make plenty of mistakes. But it's the comeback that helps us all, and it's the comeback. That's how we're defined. We're defined by our comeback. And we'll see the comeback that Will Smith makes going forward. I want to thank the lovely, the talented, the beautiful Goldie for joining us. And I want to thank the great George, for King George, for joining us. Greatly appreciate it, guys.
Thank you,
Take
buddy.
care of yourself. Stay safe. Be safe. And do all the right things because, again, your legacy is on the line. Later.
Later.